Words of apology, no matter how sincere, will not heal a broken connection if we haven't listened well to the hurt party's anger and pain. There will be numerous times throughout your life where someone has an issue with something you've done. So they'll open a conversation with you to give you this feedback. But because most people have the communication skills of a duck-billed platypus on methamphetamine, the way they deliver this feedback will come across as criticism. So what do? You get defensive, you bite back, and you accuse them, and you both contribute to the destruction of an otherwise healthy relationship. But according to Harriet Lerner, a renowned family therapist and relationships expert, there are 12 ways we can turn these hostile conversations into growth-oriented discussions. Oh, I forgot to mention why this matters. This matters because if you can listen less defensively, other people will feel more comfortable around you and your relationships will improve. Because your relationships are only as strong as your ability to have hard conversations. Number 1. Recognise your defensiveness. We are wired to go into defensive mode when we feel someone is criticising us. And it's not exactly our favourite way of spending a Monday morning being told that the way we're acting is annoying someone else. But if we recognise our defensiveness, we give ourselves a tiny, crucial little bit of distance from it. So, the way to tell whether you're listening defensively is if you're only listening for the things you don't agree with. Pay attention when you're focusing on the exaggerations, inaccuracies, or the distortions in what other people is saying amongst the truth or their feelings. If there's one thing I want you to get from this video, and bit of a risk being the creator, mentioning this early on in the video to satisfy your curiosity, people just want to be understood. Listening is such an active process and you can improve so much in your relationships and interactions with people if you just understand people want to be understood, no matter what they're saying. So in the context of someone bringing something up with you that you're doing that is potentially annoying them, listen to understand, don't listen to respond. Because human nature works in this way. Defensiveness in one person always invites defensiveness out in the other person. It's just how we're wired. So the best way to frame this collaborative problem solving is it's you and the person versus the problem, not you versus the person. Number 2, breathe. When conflict is high in a conversation, the first thing to go is our breath, which makes us more anxious, less assertive, and less able to get out of our heads and into the conversation and what the person is saying. Defensiveness starts in your body, so do whatever you can to calm yourself down. Physiological sigh. Take slow, deep breaths while this other person is talking. Number 3. I know we just covered it in point 1, but I wanted to elaborate on it a little bit more. The one thing I want you to understand from the other person's point of view of raising this topic with you is it's a very vulnerable thing to do. I know that might run contrary to the things you might be currently thinking about this person, as in they're always critical or they're always bringing up things that you do that annoy them, but in most cases, most people don't criticise all of the time, so to raise an issue with something you're doing that is annoying them in an assertive manner is a nerve-wracking and courageous thing for them to do. So, listen just to understand, which means don't interrupt, do not refute their arguments, and do not correct facts. If, while you're listening to this other person, you notice that what they're saying is inaccurate or there are facts you need to correct, listen first before you jump in. Let them exercise their chimp monkey mind. Because if you jump in and interrupt while this person is offloading, you're going to create a bigger problem and you're going to delay the conflict because they won't feel heard or listened to. Now, if you have corrections of their arguments or the facts, wait until they've stopped speaking and deliver it in a respectful and non-defensive manner. Or, after they've stopped speaking, save your correction of facts for another conversation in the future when everything has calmed down. Just listen to understand, as if you're a therapist with a patient, but don't diagnose them. Just think about it. How much time would you save if you genuinely listened to people rather than having to continuously revisit conversation after annoyance after annoyance because you didn't listen fully? Number 4, ask questions about what you don't understand. There will be things you can't comprehend with what they're saying, or things that might seem have sprouted up out of the blue. For example, it could be your boss, your partner, a friend, a family member. They might say, "I feel you don't respect me." That's a little bit vague. So, preface your question by letting them know you genuinely want to understand them by saying, "Just so I can understand that a little bit better, can you give me an example of me putting you down?" Now, asking for more specifics in what they're saying isn't nitpicking, because by asking for more clarity, you're signalling your willingness to understand them with the mindset of curiosity rather than cross-examining like a lawyer. Don't do that, even if you are one. Number 5, find something you can agree with. Again, you're not going to agree with everything this person is saying, and again, you're not going to be over the moon at what their criticism is revealing about you. But if you only agree with 7% of what they're saying, let them know. You might say something like, "Okay, you're right, I was hogging the conversation the other night." But if you don't agree with anything they're saying, thank them for their openness and let them know you'll think further about what they've said. Remember, they want to feel understood. Number 6, apologise for your part. By taking responsibility for what you feel you should take responsibility for, you signal to the other person you're not going to evade the issue and you're going to face it head on. When we see people take responsibility, it does this weird thing to us as human beings. It softens us up. And most importantly, it gets us out of this combat mode and into collaboration, like we mentioned earlier. Now, how can you tell what you need to apologise for? Well, usually your conscience will let you know. And don't fall for the trap of when you apologise, demanding the other person to apologise for their part. They will apologise for their part later, because remember, right now, they're the person who's initiated this conversation, and you might not want to hear this, but when they've initiated the conversation and they need to vent, it's their feelings, hurt and pain that needs to be listened to right now. You will get your chance to vent, but understand first and then recalibrate after. Number 7, let the hurt party know he or she has been heard and you will continue to think about the conversation. Tell them that they've reached you and their words have sunk in. You might say something like, "It's not easy to hear what you said, but I want you to know that I'm going to give it a lot of thought." Then, after the conversation and you've demonstrated you hear the other person, you engage your slow thinking to consider the whole puzzle and not just this one piece. Number 8, 4 more. Thank the critical person for sharing their feelings. Remember what we said a few moments ago? It has probably taken a large amount of courage, initiative and resolve for this person to talk about what they're talking about with you right now. So demonstrate this to them. Take the initiative to express your generosity if open and honest communication is what you value in your relationships. You might say, "Thank you for telling me this. I'm sure it wasn't easy." Reverse the roles and think back to a time where you wasn't on the receiving end of someone's criticism, but you were the one opening up vulnerably to someone who you care about, trying to inform them about how they've hurt you. It wasn't easy, was it? It was horrible and you didn't want to have the conversation, but you did it because you're courageous. It's the same feeling for this person. Number 9, take the initiative to bring the conversation up again. I know some of you were probably rubbing your hands at the thought of telling the other person, "Okay, I'm going to think about what you said," and not revisiting the conversation again. But one thing I want to reiterate is a lot of people are very submissive, which is to say, not only does it take a lot of courage for them to bring these things up with you, but they might not mention everything they want to get off their chest in their initial conversation with you. But if you care about them, take the initiative to bring it up again to put them at ease. You might say something along the lines of, "I've been thinking about our conversation we had last week, and I'm really glad we had that talk. I'm just wondering if there's anything you haven't told me." Then they can offload whatever is still heavy on their chest. Now, I know you might not like the idea that a lot of people avoid these conversations for fear of conflict, which makes our relationships so much worse. So put other people at ease. Take the extra step of empathy, not at the expense of yourself, and consider where this person might be struggling and lighten the load for them, because they might not mention things for fear of hurting you, but you're much stronger than you think and all that. Unspoken expectations are premeditated resentments. Number 10, draw the line at insults. You don't have to stay in a conversation where someone is outright demeaning you or insulting you. Now, when tension is high, usually people will begin a conversation with a barrage of insults and offloading things that are quite emotionally heavy to them. As long as they calm down after and show a willingness to engage in a civil conversation with you, continue the conversation. But if they keep insulting you, just say, I want to hear what bothers you, but I need you to approach me with respect. And if they calm down and show a willingness to engage, gift them the reward of your time and attention. But if they keep insulting you, say, we can revisit this conversation when you've calmed down. 2 more. Don't listen when you can't listen well. Becoming a great listener involves telling other people when you don't have the time or energy to listen to them. If as soon as you come home your partner starts offloading all of their annoyances onto you, or as soon as you're about to leave work your boss calls you in to give you a bit of feedback, let them know plain and clearly, I can't absorb what you're saying right now. I feel a little overloaded. Let's return to it tomorrow so I can give you my full attention. Remember, don't give people 60% of your attention. Give them 100% or 0%. And people would much rather you tell them up front you cannot listen right now than to feel you're not fully present in the conversation. Number 12, finally. Define your differences. Some of you might have jumped to the comments already and complained about how I'm creating a culture of people pleasers who never voice their opinions in their conversations. Probably my fault for leaving this point till last. But you don't unnecessarily become an over-accommodating people pleaser when someone is giving you criticism. It might be easier to just say I'm sorry and get on with your life in the face of what this person is telling you, but during this conversation you might feel the need to hear your own voice. So you might say, I appreciate your opinion. Here's where we might see things a bit differently, and calmly, respectfully outline the differences in your perspectives that has contributed to this problem. Note though, if the other person is offloading intensely and you find you need more time to let what they're saying sink in, to understand it better, save defining your differences for the follow-up conversation you have. Timing is crucial. So, in summary, thanks to Harriet Lerner, and I'm not going to list all the 12 points again on the board because there's only one thing I want you to take away from this video. People want to be understood, so demonstrate you understand them with genuine curiosity and then revisit any discrepancies you find once they feel understood. For the sake of simplicity, number 1, understand. Number 2, revisit if necessary. And finally, remember, it's you plus the other person versus the problem, not you versus the other person. Stay disciplined, playful and dangerous. Adios muchachos y muchachas. Number 6, Number 6. Sometimes you're recording and a dog just decides to start barking. Number 6, apologise for your part.